So happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We are ridiculously honored and excited to have both Sachs and Samir Husni speaking today, just doing their one-on-one favorite conversation. I want to thank all of you for showing up and supporting the MCMA. So much is happening. This is, as far as we're concerned, as a board and as an association, this is where the conversation happens. And we're very much looking forward to today's conversation. And one more time, thank you to all the sponsors. We couldn't do this without you. We're extremely grateful for your support. And the December event, the holiday, I'm calling it the Holiday Extravaganza, will be a lot of fun, as well as what we have lined up for January, February, and onward in 2022. So I think without any further delay, Bo, Samir, thank you again. And I'm going to toss you guys the softball and let you go. So the last 2 years have been quite the journey for all of us. And I think that what we as a community would really love to know is where we started, how we got through it, and then where do you see us going next? I mean, you guys are the experts. We want to know. So please take it away.
Thank you.
Samir?
Go ahead, Bo. I mean, age before beauty. So
I'll take that. So we are a remarkable set of professionals. How we had an industry, a system, a way of doing business that we've done for decades, and in a week turned it around and accelerated everything that we've ever done. What used to take 2 weeks, we got done in a day. We revamped how we work together. So we did an extraordinary achievement, as good or better than any other industry in the past 18 months. But your question is, where are we going? And I think that's a great way for us to start. Is the publishing industry ascending or descending? I think the clearer answer is we're ascending as a publishing industry, as people who distribute content. We now have paid newsletters, paid podcasts. We're focusing on subscriptions, which of course we should have done 25 years ago. I know Samir and I both agree that the reading public should have paid a fair share contribution to what we produce. But now let me twist this around to publishing is ascending. Are magazines ascending or descending? And by magazines, I mean the printed product. And I would have to say, at best, we're plateauing. I don't think you can consider the print magazine business a growth industry. Agree? Disagree?
well, I mean, let me first agree with you on the fact that we've done a big mistake when the internet came into being. We've created a welfare information society because all what we knew as the publishing industry was the business model that existed was find an audience, sell as many ad pages, give them a circulation guarantee, give the information for free, give the magazines for free, or like $2 a year, and the advertisers will foot the bill. We did the exact same thing with the internet. And unlike what the smart folks who created cable and HBO back in the late 70s, where they told the utility companies, you wire this house, you charge them $10 for our programming, you keep 5 and we'll take 5. When the internet came, the publishing industry told the utility companies, you wire the homes, charge them $30, $40, we will give you all the information, we will give them everything for free. And the advertisers will come in. Well, the advertisers did not come in. So that's where the double whammy hit in 2008 when the economy crashed and digital came into the scene. Everybody said, oh, whom should I blame it on? Is it the economy? Or is it this new seductive mistress like walking down the street? called digital. And everybody blame it on digital. So they ignored the business model. That's why I've always said we do not have a print problem. And by print, this is something very few people separate between people. The first thing they hear about print, they think newspapers. There's a big difference between the newspaper industry and the magazine industry and what's happening with those two. Because in my book, the problem is not with print. The problem is with the business model, because there is no better way to create an experience than with the printed magazine. And that's why I say, if magazines were only in the content delivery business, they would have been dead long time ago. Digital is great to deliver content. Printed magazines deliver experiences, and we can talk about that later. And that's what I'm seeing increasing now, is that the engagement with the audience, that experience is no longer just like a one-night stand. It's becoming a long-lasting relationship that people are willing to pay for that experience, much higher prices than they paid 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
I would add that print magazines are the most trusted medium, more trusted than newspapers, more trusted than TV, more trusted than radio. And with your conversation about the experience and adding on trust, it's inexplicable why advertisers are abandoning us. I don't know why. So,
well, mainly because look at who are the buyers for advertising. Recent graduates from colleges who all what they think about is like, oh, we live in a digital world. But then and they ignore the statistics, they ignore the research, they ignore the fact that, to me, a printed magazine is more like a house or an apartment building where everything works together. You can go from one room to the other. The ads are part of the experience, especially the endemic ads. I mean, you don't pick up a magazine, let's say Bon Appetit, you don't expect to see in it a dog food ad. I mean, you expect to see the ads that relate to it. But if you and I now, we mention the word dog food, guess what I'm going to see on my Facebook page or what I'm going to see on my Google search? Ads for dog food, because they heard us talk about dog food. So to me, I mean, even the ads in the magazines, in the printed magazines, are like invited friends or friends of friends that are coming to your home that you invite, you pick up from the newsstands. Ads on digital are more like the thief in the night, just invading your home, invading your apartment building, and not knowing, without any relationship to the content of that you are looking on digital or looking at your iPad or your iPhone.
it's always mystified me that we're such an unusual industry. We're not like any other industry. We're not like the milk industry, the beef industry, pork, take your pick, dentistry, plumbing. They have the capacity to get together and brand what it is that they do. Here we are in the communication business, and we can't brand the magazine business. We can't get out there to the public and give a pitch. Got milk? How about got magazines? We are incapable of working together.
And that's, I think, the heart of the problem. We do not work together. We actually work against each other. I mean, how many, even during the worst of times for the auto industry, how many articles have you seen in the media by executives from the auto industry saying, oh, we're doomed, we're dead, we're dying? With the problems with cable television, the problem with network television, how many articles have you said, oh, the death of TV? Yet when it comes to the death of print, we are our own prophets of doom and gloom. I mean, we write more about our demise as if we are writing our own obituary. Yet, thanks to the entrepreneurs who are continuing to fight, continuing to bring new magazines, including like the last 95 magazines that have arrived on our newsstands in the last 10 months.
New magazines.
New magazines, mainly from entrepreneurs, mainly from people who still believe that there is room for an experience, there is room to engage an audience, even if that audience is going to pay $20 an issue, as opposed to the latest ad I just received, picking from 60 different legacy magazines at $2 for the entire year. I mean, it should be a crime to pay $2 for an entire year of a printed magazine that comes to your home with no interruptions, no pop-ups, no batteries needed, nothing.
Our rate base is a cancer on the industry. Well, without a doubt, it's part of the demise of the industry. And I won't quote you, Samir, but you said something like, we need quality readers, not quantity of readers. I'm sure you phrased it better than I, but the idea is there.
That's perfect, Bo. I mean, the more you agree with me, the more I like you. So I mean, I'm glad that at this time of your life, you are starting to see the light and you are starting to move more toward my ideas and opinions.
Yes, you're right. I see that the print industry is flat and getting flatter. You're right. We both agree.
Yeah, but one thing that people tend to forget, where quality is good, we have now more than 7,500 quality magazines, consumer magazines, available for the general public, as opposed to 2,000 magazines back in 1980. I mean, so we have almost 4 times the number of magazines available for the general public. Now, yes, before you jump at me, the total circulation number. Do we have a TV guide with 18 million circulation? No. We have magazines maybe with 500. I mean, magazines that are so proud of themselves, they tell you that your copy is 1 out of 500. That's all what we printed. Because one of the beauties of technology is it also changed the print industry. That now, if you go to a printer and you say you want a print run of 5,000 copies or 10,000 copies, they won't throw you out of the plant. Because in the good old days, as you know, I mean, it will take 5,000 copies to get the registration right.
Yes,
And
true.
now, with all the technologies, I can print 500 copies without any waste, or I can print 1,000 copies without any waste. So we're taking advantage of the technology and enhancing our quality product. And that's why we are charging for it. That's why I keep on saying, and that's where probably you and I differ in terms of the definition of what's a magazine, because to me, inherited in the definition of a magazine is that frequency. It's that, like, whether it's coming weekly or monthly or once a year even, it becomes more like that repetition creates habit. And that's why I say, like, magazine reading and magazine buying is a habitual thing, not just an impulse buy.
There are so many directions I want to go in, but let's go back to what is a magazine. The only thing you and I disagree on is that a magazine for you has to have paper. I don't think that a magazine requirement, it has to be edited, it has to be directed, it has to be paginated, it has to have a frequency. But to me, it doesn't have to be on paper. But we can go back to that in a minute. But I want to get to the SIPs. It's not clear to me. They are doing the best on the newsstands and anything being sold right now at an extremely high rate. My question is that good for the industry long term? Or is it a negative for the industry long term?
I think it's very short-sighted, because I mean, if you go and visit any news, I mean, the bookazines, I don't believe they are magazines. I mean, the bookazines or the SIPs that we find now are more like the paperbacks of the 70s and 80s and 90s. They are a little bit more glorified paperbacks, or like, as somebody once told me, they are the poor man's or the poor person's coffee table book, because they don't create a habitual repetition. I mean, so you buy a bookazine on Inside Your Dog's Mind. I mean, why would anybody pay like $15 to read what's inside their dog's mind or their cat's mind, so we won't be discriminating against the pets? And would you go back and buy another Inside? I mean, there's no habit creation. And the only way a magazine is a magazine, if we create that experience that's based on repetition. And you cannot have repetition without surprising, without offering this, what I refer to as the unexpected, surprising content, yet it's at the same time expected. I.e., if I am doing a health magazine, I mean, I expect to see a diet in every issue. The surprise that comes to me is like, what type of diet they are going to tell me now, or what type of way I'm going to build my apps again and again, issue after issue. The surprise is, and that's why magazine, that's why I give a lot of credit to the editing and to the power of people who actually edit those magazines, create those magazines. They are the original uh, influencers. This thing about like somebody putting their opinions on a blog and say, oh, they are now, this is the big influencers. I mean, can you imagine if you are a journalist and you are the editor of uh, Men's Health, or you are the editor of Good Housekeeping, or what a job that you have in terms of determining every issue. I have to have more articles about food, but what type of articles? I mean, if you are a newspaper journalist, it's so easy. You wait for something to happen and you write about it. So who's more creative? Who has to use their skills to curate all that information, especially now with what we have on Google? The editor of Cosmopolitan in Spain had on her desk, I did some consulting for them, and had on her desk, Samir says, if I can find the answer on Google, it does not belong in the magazine. That's why it is so important for us to engage in experiences, not just providing content and providing answers. We have to curate all that information. We have to put it and deliver it on a regular frequency that people know what to expect. Yet the surprise is always what did we choose to surprise them with?
I was at a different conference last week, which focuses on the retail experience, selling of newsstands and the like. And there was a piece of advice that kind of baffled me. And still on the SIP problem, they were suggesting that monthly magazines should make their magazines look like an SIP, a single subject cover. I think that goes against the grain of what you were just describing.
Yeah, and I disagree even with that. I mean, the idea of making your monthly magazine a single topic cover, because the premise of what makes a magazine, I mean, if we really believe, or if you accept my that a magazine is more like an apartment building, or a magazine is like a house. I mean, your bedroom is not the same as your kitchen. Your kitchen is not the same as the dining room. It's not the same as the den. Each room in your house has its own identity. And like I tell all my clients, your magazine cover have to show me the entire house as if you are putting it for sale. But like on this cover, you are highlighting the kitchen. On next month's cover, you are highlighting the bedroom. On the next month's cover, you are highlighting the den. And so to limit our magazines to a single topic and highlight a single topic, you are limiting the opportunity of saying, okay, I like this, but I may not like that. Unless your magazine is, and again, I mean, that's was the power of like the New Yorker. I mean, the New Yorker's cover had nothing to do with the inside of the magazine. And for years, they've never had even a cover line because they don't want to destroy the art.
Mm.
And so, yet, yesterday I interviewed Tom Florio, who used to be the at the New Yorker, and Tom was telling me, like, when Tina Brown became the editor and they wanted to enhance the circulation of the New Yorker, they dropped the subscription to like $16. And he said, folks, what are you doing? I mean, people buy the New Yorker because it's the New Yorker. So he moved it to $50. How many subscribers did they lose? Nothing, zilch. Because again, you give me a quality product, I'm willing to pay for it. The days of like passing by the checkout and saying, oh, I mean, I like this cover, let me buy this magazine because it's 59 cents, like what Women's Word used to be. when it first launched. Women's World is now $3.29 on the newsstands. I mean, this is a weekly magazine. Is $3.29 now an impulse buy in this day and age we live in? Let alone try to find a magazine at the newsstands now. They are like hidden behind the bookazines because, hey, if I can sell you something for $15 about your dog's mind, why bother with a magazine that will tell you who's the sexiest man alive or the sexiest woman alive?
You know, that you touch on another pet peeve of mine, the checkout counters, which are bought by the major players. It's another self-destructive move by the industry who cannot work together. We should promote the variety of magazines. And so we should have small local magazines on the checkout counter, just like with the big guys. We need to work together. We need to encourage reading. We need to encourage like variety. You don't get variety. You get the same titles in every supermarket across the country. That's self-destructive.
And you know, the funny thing is I did like consulting in Finland for like 15 years or so. And the way their newsstands work, every 6 months, they see which were the 10 top selling magazines on the newsstands. And those 10 magazines for the next 6 months, they get the checkout space. You don't pay for it. You don't, it's just based on like who's selling most. You get rewarded by putting you on the checkout counter for the next 6 months. And the thing, and again, I mean, this is another problem of our industry because they don't work together. I remember when I worked at the newsstand consulting with Meredith back in the 80s. I mean, we used to go around the country and we will see like this competitor is here, we'll tell the retail store, you know, how much are they paying for the pocket? $10, we'll give you 15. I mean, that's why I never blame the retailers. We did the self-inflicted wounds to ourselves as an industry. We are the ones that told retailers, I don't care whether my magazines sell or not, I'm going to rent your space and give you the money. If you sell the magazine, then that's good, that's okay.
Yeah, and we're competing with chocolate for space in the checkout line. And chocolate's a lot easier and more lucrative than the magazine business.
And it's still more of an impulse buy. But again, I mean, didn't somebody say like in some movie, like magazines are like a box of chocolate?
Something like that. Let me ask you a question. You said it's on topic, but not what we're talking about now. You said that journalism is dead. Do you still agree with that, or have you changed your mind?
Why do you think I retired? No, I'm just kidding. From teaching. No, I didn't change my mind. And that's why I don't turn on my TV in the morning anymore. I don't watch the news anymore because my professor at the University of Missouri in Columbia back in 1980, very first lecture, very first sentence he told us, when a journalist gives his or her opinion, he or she is no longer a journalist. And now all what we see is opinions, opinions, opinions. Half truth, 1/3 of truth, you name it. There's no place that when you can actually see the point, counterpoint, and stay out. I mean, we're no longer the judge. We are at the same time, we are the defense attorney and the prosecutor. But
you're talking about TV journalism. You're right, there's various forms. There's opinionated journalism on CNN, on Fox, take your pick. But there's real exhaustive newspaper journalism. The Facebook story that the Wall Street Journal broke was true investigative journalism. I don't know that there was an opinion in that piece.
No, but I mean, I'm you know, one parent get in touch with me after I said that statement in class that journalism is dead. And he said, Professor, why I'm sending my son to school to study and major in journalism if you are telling them that journalism is dead? I said, well, sir, I'm a 4th generation Presbyterian. who believe in life after death. So, I mean, it will be resurrected. Journalism will come back, and we need to train them to bring back journalism to what it used to be. The thing, Bo, I mean, you and I are experienced readers of the newspapers, of the magazines, experienced journalists watching and seeing. The majority of this country, where do they get their news from? A tweet? Television show? I mean, how many?
Facebook is the
Facebook-
source of news.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, I mean, how many? I mean, when I used to drive around my neighborhood, almost every home had a newspaper in their driveway. Now, they don't even deliver the newspaper. I mean, you want to get the newspaper in our area? They send it to you by mail. And why would I get the newspaper like 2 days later?
In 1965, there was 1.2 newspapers in every household in America. And it's been diminishing ever since.
Yeah. Yet, on the other hand, I mean, if you see the latest statistics about how people from all ages, the younger even more than the older people, are engaged in reading income paper, engaged in reading magazines, engaged in reading, because again, I mean, well, the circulation is down as a total circulation, the variety, the choices that are out there for you. But where do you find them? I mean, that's again, I mean, you have to compete against all the bookazines, you have to compete against all the special interest publications. Plus, I mean, give me one retailer that they increase their display space rather than decrease. I
None
mean,
that I'm aware of.
or Kroger or Walgreens, you name it.
Well, what I encourage is for everybody to think of alternative distribution. Put magazines in retail outlets that don't usually carry magazines, especially your specialty titles. If you have a motorcycle magazine, it ought to be in every Harley Davidson store in the world. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We are not, as an industry, again, accessing creativity and distribution.
Yeah, and you know, it's not a new idea. That's how Rolling Stone was launched. It was sold only in the beginning at the music shops. And when we had all these music shops and all these sound shops chains in the malls, I mean, it was delivered by UPS to the music shop, and you go and you buy it there. The thing is, and I think somebody is asking about, like, you know, grocery stores can deliver anything. Why don't they deliver magazines? And this is something that you and I and our panel, our roundtable, we've talked a lot about that. But the thing that I want to bring us back to is the difference between the income paper and the digital. Because with the income paper, Bo, you have a beginning, you have an end. You have a self-contained information with borders and boundaries. That's why I say it's like a house. Digital is more like a maze. You have no earthly idea where you are going to get out. You are lost. You don't know. It never ends. It's 24/7. And on top of everything else, you don't own anything. I mean, yes, you paid for your ebook. Where is your ebook? You don't own it. You cannot show it. You cannot put it on your shelf. You cannot do anything with it.
Anything digital we rent, we don't own.
Well, they tell you they are buying the ebook. They are not saying you are renting the ebook. But when I tell you you're buying the magazine, it's yours. You own it. You can do whatever you want to do with it. I mean, can you imagine if you get mad and an ebook and throw it across the room? What will happen to your iPad? I can do that with any magazine I'm looking at. Plus, without any need to search or any need to do anything, I can pick up a magazine from what's this fact magazine from 1971 and still enjoy it and read it all in one piece. Where it's not the same experience as going to the digital. That's why, I mean, digital is great for content. I mean, if I'm looking for content, if I'm looking for answers, I do like everybody else, including my granddaughter who's only 6 years old. Google it. But if I want an experience, if I want something engaging, nothing overpowers there.
I'm not gonna agree 100%. I find there are digital experiences that are compelling and engaging. They're
Name one.
the two cannot be.
Name one. Give me an example of a digital experience that was compelling and engaging, and it was not.
Well, I'm not going to compare the two, but there are TikTok has got 1 billion users and they are fully engaged. Now, now we're talking about time spent on anything is only 24 hours in a day. And the enormity of the time spent in streaming and on digital is incomprehensible. I don't know how people do it, but the stats all say we're spending all our time on digital. So these are experiences that people like. The magazine experience, no disagreement, is a unique experience. It's just you and the paper. There's nothing there to distract you to go over here. No pop-up ads. You just turn the page for the next rewarding experience. But to say that the internet is not engaging is...
Oh no, it's addiction. I mean, remember when we used to say that the average American family watches television around 9.5 hours a day? And you start wondering, I mean, how do they define watching television? Is it the minute I used to come home, I'll just turn on the TV and then go do some other stuff. Is that watching? I mean, and when you really think, like, if you watch, the average is 9 hours. So there are some people who are watching it for 12 and 13 hours. Who has the time? And yet the same thing now, you see all these statistics about, like, when I'm looking at this, and it tells me how many minutes I spend with this, how many minutes I spend with Facebook, how many minutes is it true measurement, or is this just because you turn it on?
Well, Facebook lies about everything, including how many users they have and how much time is spent and how many videos are watched. It's an out and out lie.
Well, and that's why they are changing their name to Meta, I think.
Yeah, that's going to help a lot.
They won't show their face anymore.
Gentlemen, let me ask you some questions from the audience that is just loving this, but there's some really good, interesting, like, diversional things that I think we should talk about. So when we talk about the digital versus the print experience, I think, and this is from Mark, who put this out there, is that, so some people do subscribe and digital, and the phone is ever present. So, and if you're quote unquote part of the online shopping experience and you order your things and have them delivered to your house, what do you think about, you're ordering a magazine, maybe? I mean, everything is sort of shifting in some cases. So, with the delivery and online experience that just comes to your home, you don't even have to leave anymore. So going through that experience, so that's one part of it. But then there's another magazine that somebody else mentioned in a question down below about Food Network magazine, where that's an interactive video experience with now a magazine. So it's, how are we handling, or how do you see us handling this shift between interactive and engaging video or online, whether it's TikTok, whether it's TV, and then, but there's still a piece of it that is now still tied to, yes, they want the print experience, okay? They do want Food Network magazine because they want to, study the recipes like that, or, oh, I want to get, the NFL preview, Sports Illustrated in the fall, online delivered to my house from Walmart because I'm shopping there and having my groceries delivered. So how do you correlate that in the future? How is that the next step?
Two quick things. I mean, can you imagine what type of society we are heading toward, whether I can get everything I want without leaving my home?
We're headed there for sure.
That I don't interact with people. I mean, even if I go to the store, I was telling my wife yesterday, Walmart in our town has 60 checkout lanes.
Mhm.
There's only one checkout cashier. Everything else that now you want, you have to do it yourself. Nobody talks with you. You get this stuff. You just go and check, or you can order them online. I mean, can you imagine if each and every one of us knows exactly what they want, where to get it from, how to get it from, what type of society we are heading in? People need to look at the catalog industry. People who are so much promoting all this online shopping and online this, it's all good and dandy. Why then, whether it is Bed Bath and Beyond, or whether it is Macy's, or why are they sending, or even Amazon, why are they sending the printed catalogs?
Agreed.
And they have increased. I mean, in the last 2 years, we've seen more catalog being printed than
Because it works. It works. It drives sales. But
And-
I think it's fair to share something you and I both know, but I think is not very well known, is that the industry is working on drop-down menus for magazines for online buying. We're not there yet, but we're very close to having that functionality.
Okay, so here's a comment from Joe on engagement. The New York Times does some amazing immersive graphics and videos that delve into a topic visually: elections, war, conflict reporting, pandemics, etc. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I am a digital subscriber to the New York Times. I read the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post. Not all of them completely, but I subscribe to all three, and that's my morning read. And they're all three papers are doing a different technological approach, but they're all really good. They're all getting really good at it. The Times wants 10 million subscribers by 2025. They already have 7 million. That's a remarkable achievement.
the big difference, and I defer this to all the neurosurgeons and the studies, and Professor who wrote a book, Naomi, at George Washington University, where they did the study about retention, comprehension, recall, and there's no comparison between if you are holding something in your hand, looking at it, reading it from ink on paper, how much you can recall, how much you can remember, how much you can concentrate. And even they ask college kids, if the price is the same, what do you prefer to have, an ink on paper textbook or an ebook? 68% went with an ink on paper book because it's much better for them to comprehend. So yeah, if I just need I told somebody yesterday, the difference between all the information we get from digital and the information we get from print or magazines is digital to me is like fast food. Print is sitting down, having a 3-course meal, whether it's for breakfast, for lunch, or for dinner. But we live in such a fast food microwave society that we are going to pay the, I think, one of the things I've said, and I truly believe social media is going to destroy our democracy if it did not destroy it already yet. And just the idea that anybody, anywhere, can say anything they want without editing, without curating, without, I'm not saying censorship, but just the idea that oh, social media, everybody now is a publisher. If everybody is a journalist, nobody is a journalist. If everybody is a medical doctor, nobody is a medical doctor. There are things that make people who they are. And with social media and the way that it opened the floodgates to anyone to say anything they want at any moment, at any time, 24/7, is going to be the end of our society as we know it and our democracy as we know it.
Across the world, it's not just here.
Yeah.
So somebody asked, what magazines do I subscribe to? I used to subscribe to a lot. I don't subscribe to any just because of what I do for a living. Every publisher in the universe sends me, I'm on everybody's list. And we donate them to the hospital. I mean, we have an enormous amount of magazines coming into this house.
If you were going to subscribe, what would you pay for?
The New Yorker.
And would you do it in print?
Yes. That's a different experience.
Right.
That's long form reading.
Samir, if you were going to subscribe to something and it was digital only, what would, if there was, or if you had a choice between print and digital, would you take digital of anything?
Me?
Yeah, you. What would you do?
I mean, if it's not ink on paper, I'm not paying a penny for it. I'll find a way to get it for free.
Okay.
I
Good
mean,
question.
it's a welfare information society. Why would I pay for something that I don't own, for something I can't refer back to? I mean, I'm looking at my magazine collection now, and I have around like 100,000 magazines in 1,700 boxes in 4 storage units. I own these things. I mean, when I look back and see, okay, I'm looking at the prototype issue of Look magazine from January 1937. What value does that have if I scan it and show it to you on digital? Zilch, nothing. Or if I look at the first issue of TV Guide from April 1953, what value it is if I show you the cover on a digital screen? Nothing, zilch. I mean, we are born. I mean, from the minute we're born, you're born with your fist tight. I mean, when you come out of the womb, you want to collect and own everything. The reality of the thing is, when you're gone, I've yet to see a hearse towing a U-Haul. I mean, it's like, you know, you don't take, and that's why, that's part of my retirement thing is I need to find a home for my magazines. I mean, I need to find a place. I mean, I have the largest collection of first editions than anyone in the world. I mean, not even the Library of Congress, because a lot of the magazines that I have, the Library of Congress does not have, because there was only one copy. Plus, I mean, it includes everything: gay, sex, sports, food, you name it. If it made it to the newsstand, it was in my collection. And my wife used to joke, said that if it says volume 1, number 1, it's okay. You can read whatever you want. Once I catch you with a volume 1, number 2 of some of those magazines, then I know you're not doing research or you're not working on your collection. Would I pay for anything? No. I mean, I will find a way to get that information without having to pay on digital.
So there was a question earlier, and the bottom was value versus sticky. And so, you know, granted, you two are the two of you, but how do you think publishers look at this is such value that you will pay for it? How does that get balanced? Is it content? Is it the experience? So do they really create, in my mind, two experiences, a fully digital interactive one, as well as, if you want the print, is it a fully interactive, engaging, you don't want to put it down, you want to keep looking and studying it? So do you think publishers are creating two different experiences to serve two markets? Is that a legitimate question?
Are you suggesting that the digital experience, the publishers are intentionally creating two separate experiences?
I'm asking, do you think they are? Do you think the publishers are now or will in the future?
No, I think your example of the New York Times is spot on. You can't do in print what they're doing online. And it is a rich, rewarding, suck you in kind of experience. It's well crafted. So the answer is yes, there's two sets of experiences. That same article, which will be in print, is just in print. Now the words are the same words. So the value of the content is extraordinary, but one has a different kind of experience than the other.
And I remember interviewing the editor of Time magazine, who told me that he really believes that a lot of, because I asked him, said, like, why you only have like 2 million, 2.5 million subscribers in print, yet you say you have 30 million digital people, like uniques and stuff like that. And he said, like, quite a bit of those uniques probably don't know that there is a print magazine that exists. It's a completely different audience. It's a completely different group of people. The the thing is, in our mistake in terms of the business model and still depending on a third party to foot the bill, that's why we did not know how to handle digital and how to complement print. Uh, there was a publisher in Arkansas that everybody made fun of when the internet came into being. He would only put the headlines of his newspapers online and said, you want to read the story, you have to buy the newspaper. And he survived and he made a lot of money. And a lot of people then start like following his footsteps, that if you really want this information, you have to pay for it. But when you deal with young folks and you deal with universities, I mean, those kids can teach us, we old folks. Like when I said, oh, like the state newspaper only gives you like 20 articles and then you have to pay after that. I said, oh, no, Doc. I mean, we can clean the cache and then we get another 20 articles. Then clean the, I mean, they tell you all the ways where you can actually go and beat the system. But the thing is, what we are seeing now, and we have the biggest evidence with the social unrest that took place during the pandemic also, and how magazines reacted to that. We've never, in the history of American magazines, have seen as much diversity on the magazine covers and inside the magazines as we've seen starting in 2019. I would venture to say, an article I wrote to the Poynter Institute, that at least 10 times more than we've seen in the last 90 years, we've seen in just like 90 days. And the reaction was, I spoke with some folks on the newsstands, I mean, because the myth was, you put diversity on the cover, your sales is going to go down. A lot of those magazines have sold out. A lot of those magazines with even high cover prices. And one newsstand analyst told me, the reason, Samir, is that because those magazines are no longer an impulse buy. People are not buying them because what's on the cover. People are buying them for the entire content and experience that they are going to get on how this issue of GQ or how this issue of another magazine or how that is $14, $15, $20. This is not an impulse buy. And so give you two examples. When Bruce Jenner, before becoming Caitlyn Jenner, he revealed the sex change on TV in an interview with, I think, Andrea, one of the TV broadcasts, I mean, on ABC News. It was okay. I mean, you know, people, but then when Vanity Fair put Caitlyn Jenner on the cover of the magazine,
Couldn't print enough.
Yeah. And the same thing when Oprah magazine decided to put Breonna Taylor on the cover instead of Oprah for the first time in the history of Oprah magazine. The magazine sold out. So I mean, there's nothing. I mean, when I spoke with the editor of Entertainment Weekly, he said, Samir, I asked him, I said, like, how many celebrities give you a scoop or give you an interview if you put them on your website? He said, Samir, the only requirement to get the scoop, the only thing that they want is to be on the cover of the printed magazine. When was the last time you heard anybody asking like, oh yeah, please put me on your website. Oh, I would love to be on your website.
I get that all the time.
So guys, we have about 8 minutes left. Do you want to open it up and see if anybody wants to throw a question directly at you? Does anybody want to raise your hand and ask Mo and Samir a question? This is the time.
I saw a question fly by that I'd like to address. Someone asked about waste. I believe it was discussing the issue of wasted magazines. And that's another pet peeve of mine. We used to print 10 and throw away 7. We're now down to about printing 10 and throwing away 2 as an industry. Now, that's people do better and people do worse.
Say that again.
We
print
print
10?
10 magazines and throw away 8.
Yeah, throw 8 because you said 2. That's why I mean it's
Oh,
like,
no, sorry.
yeah. Okay.
Got rattled because of, our fisticuffs.
Yeah.
We need, as an industry, we could save billions of dollars in waste. If this news ever got out to the public about how, I mean, it's not a tree thing, but because we plant more trees than we cut, but it's still an environmental issue. Magazines should be done on a no return basis. And that would solve the issue, I think.
And when you think about it, Bo, I mean, magazines are the only item in a grocery store that is on consignment basis. I
Right.
mean, they can't send back their tomatoes. They can't send back their Rice Krispie cereals. But again, we created this thing. I mean, one time I saw a woman at the checkout. She had probably around $200 worth of stuff, and she picked up a copy of People magazine, starts flipping through the pages and looking at the pictures and reading the articles. And when the woman told her, "Ma'am, you're ready," she put the magazine back on the shelf. So I tapped her on her shoulder. I mean, you can do that in a small town. I said, "Ma'am, would you do that to a cereal box?" She said, "What?" I said, "Would you go to the cereal aisle, pick up a box of Rice Krispies, open it, dig into it, eat few bites, and then put it back on the shelf?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm talking about People magazine. I mean, you read the articles, you looked at all the pictures, and then you put it back." She said, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm the magazine police. We've been hearing reports that people are stealing our content without paying for it." And when she was starting to panic, I said, "I'm just kidding."
We have a 100-year-old business model that we haven't adjusted.
Not even attempt to adjust.
No.
We have a question from Matt Steinmetz. Matt,
Yeah.
you want to unmute yourself and go for it?
Thanks, Lisa. Bob, Samir, always good to see you guys. This is a
Hi,
blast.
Matt.
Thank
Hey.
you for being here. I've seen you guys trade wits over the years a number of times. It gets better every time. But I'd like to put both of you on the spot and have you each answer the following question. What's something the other guy has changed your mind on in the last 15 years? Bob, why don't you go first?
You can talk about e-paper, Bob.
I can't say that we've actually changed in the fundamentals. I still believe that the publishing industry, now known as content distribution, is a digital world. Magazines will continue to get smaller. This is what I said in 2007 in our first debate. This is what I say today. Magazines aren't going to go away, but our footprint will increasingly get smaller. There will be a plateau somewhere where, I hope, where it has longevity, shelf life. But every year we sell less ads. Every year we sell less magazines.
And I used to say, Matt, that only 2 people can tell you the future, God and a fool. I added to them and Bo Sachs.
I've been
Right,
right.
so
I've been
neither of
right
you-
for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
Neither
what
of you have
happened-
learned a
what
thing from
happened
the
to
other in
e-paper?
15 years, sounds like.
Remember our debate about e-paper? What happened to e-paper? Who is it still being manufactured in England or somewhere?
What do you think a Kindle is? A Kindle is e-paper. Look it up.
Kindle is e-paper?
Yeah.
I thought you were like holding something in your hand and showing to us like, look, you can flip it, you can do this, you can do that.
Yes, I did have examples of literal electronic paper. And if that's what you're basing your analysis on, my predictability of the future is that we don't have this, I think you're missing the boat. We do have e-paper. It's everywhere.
You know why I'm missing the boat? Because I decided to take the plane. Things have changed.
All right, get on my digital spaceship, buddy.
All right, anybody else? Last question. Joe? Mike? Anybody? Come on. There he is. Mike coming on. Mike, unmute yourself.
Yeah, unmute. thought a little bit of how ironic we were talking about print and digital, and we were having that discussion on a completely digital platform. But anyway, so really great discussion, great analogies, Samir. I'm going to use a few of them if you don't mind. But you know, we talked a lot about experience, right? And I agree with both of you, actually. I'm still one of those old people that picks up a magazine every now and again. My kids don't have any interest in magazines, and I think that's part of the reason why the industry is going where it is. But when we talk about experience, to me, it's the people behind the content, right? It's the editors and the photographers and so forth that are putting together, in my case, you know, international news, and that's what creates the experience. I think when the digital age started to come about, frankly, some people who were on the print side got a bit lazy in regards to that. And they didn't put that experience, as you call it, into the magazine or the newspaper. You know, it's interesting that, you know, I've worked for a 200-year-old newspaper, and I work now for almost a completely digital environment in international news. And it's still about the experience. That's how you're going to get registered people. That's how the New York Times gets, you know, 500,000 people a quarter to pay for their content. So I just thought maybe if you could chat a little bit about that, is, you know, the experience and separating it from how they receive it, whether it's on dead trees or on bits and bytes.
I mean, to me, Michael, and thanks for your kind words, but to me, you get the entire experience when you get it in print. It's not segmented. That's why I gave the example of the house with too many rooms. It's all there, including the ads, including everything. It's a package deal. You have it from the beginning to the end, and it's there in your face. You don't have to go looking for it or searching for it. I mean, either it's in your mailbox, or it's on your coffee table, or at the newsstands as you are shopping, or at the bookstore. With digital, you are getting nuggets of the experience. We've yet to see a package that you can actually see and hold the beginning and the end at the same time. I mean, that's why I said it's like a maze. I mean, you know where to enter, but God knows where you are going to end.
The experience is built into the expectation of the product. If you pick up a magazine or a newspaper, you have an expectation about what that experience is going to be. Hopefully it has high quality and high good visuals, but just picking it up, you have an expectation.
And the element of surprise that the printed magazine provide. I mean, you may buy it because of the cover story, but then the same thing with the Wall Street Journal. I mean, you can get the newspaper, and as you are flipping the pages, you buy it because of the financial news, and all of a sudden they have the investigative piece that Bo talked about Facebook. I mean, it's like, so the element of surprise is part of that experience. And when we are just like going in to snack, it's not the same. There's nothing that's the same as sitting down and having a 3-course meal, no matter how great the fast food chains are.
So, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. We're so grateful that you were here today, and we really appreciated hearing both sides of everything.
It was fun. Thank you, Lisa. It was fun.
Just a warning, because I bet you Bo is going to put on his blog or in his e-newsletter that he won the debate, and he always like predict the results by a vote of like 52 to like 32 or something.
The results speak for themselves, my friend.
I thought you were going to say that.
Of course.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate having me with this debate with Bo, and now I have to go do my